Yesterday up in Parkville, Josh Hawley kicked off a string of campaign stops, and he had Harrison Butker alongside him. So we got an exclusive interview with these two guys before the rally took place yesterday up in Parkville. So we appreciate everybody who helped coordinate that. It was a great time and got to meet some listeners as well who were there as part of the rally beforehand, during, and afterwards. It was funny, though, John. One guy comes up to me. We're, like, waiting in this big hall that they've got up there in Parkville. Beautiful spot. And there were a handful of, I assume they were donors and folks who had a chance to meet Harrison and Josh before the event kicked off. And one guy comes up to me and he goes, "Hey, man, you Josh Hawley's brother? I just wanted to come over and say hi." And I'm like, No, I'm not. He's like, "Oh, okay, that's all right." And then I was able to turn him on to the show through that interaction, by the way. So if that's how it happens, that's great. But got to see a lot of listeners up there as well, as they had a great event. Hundreds of folks out in Parkville for the rally yesterday. And I want to welcome in our new listeners with the Kansas City Star, KCUR, Woke 41, since none of them had this access. And let's play our conversation with Josh Hawley and Harrison Butker from yesterday in Parkville. Here with Josh Hawley and Harrison Butker as we get set for, 25 days as of Friday, Senator, till hopefully a re-election bid?
That's right, 25 days to go. We got a lot of ground to cover between now and then, Pete, but we're running hard. I'm excited.
All right, how about having this guy support Harrison Butker in your corner?
Huge.
You know, you and I have that photo in your office of his jersey just over our shoulder, and now here he is campaigning with you.
It means the world to me, and to have a 3-time Super Bowl champion at your side is just it's a tremendous honor. And, Harrison is somebody who the whole state knows, really the whole world knows now, as a man of integrity, a man of courage, a man of principle. And to have his support is just tremendous.
Harrison, right now you look at the world of sports and it's kind of dicey. Some people don't want to do this stuff and get involved in politics. Why do it now, and why support Josh Hawley?
I'm on year 8 now, and I've made that decision that I've kicked really well for the last 7 years and hopefully another 8th. And God's given me this platform, and I'm ready to use it. I now have 3 children, and there's many different issues that I care a lot about, and I've been friends now with Senator Hawley for the last several years, and to have a man that's a man of faith that wants to bring back traditional values to our country, I'm completely behind that, and I'm excited to be here today at my first rally to support Senator Hawley.
So what about the Benedictine? Was that kind of like a coming out party for you in hindsight? Do you look back on that and just say to yourself, did that give you, confidence to do stuff like this?
I will say it did give me some confidence. I've done some speeches here and there, and I really don't like doing them, but I decided, okay, if Benedictine College wants me to go there and give a 20-minute speech, I'm going to speak on things that matter to me that I think our world needs to hear. I didn't think it was going to go that viral, but it did, and of course everyone saw the initial blowback, but since then there's been so much support, and I've just realized through it all that I'm going to speak truth, and if people like it, great. If they don't, I'm going to keep going and keep speaking. So it has given me some courage to say I'm going to follow God first, and whatever happens, happens, but I'm going to trust his plan.
It doesn't sound, Senator, like you had to do a lot of arm twisting here. Is that a fair assessment on my end?
Well, I think everybody knows that Harrison Butker, he believes what he believes. He is clear about his beliefs, and you're not going to move him off of it. And that's why I think people respect him so much. That's why I respect him so much, is that this is a man of principle and integrity. And I just have to say, to have his support in this race, you and I, we've talked about this, Pete. This is a moment of crisis for our country. We cannot go on like this. We have got to change direction. And to have Harrison there supporting me as I try to do my part is just, it's amazing.
Well, last thing, Harrison, let's just talk about where you feel like this team's at. You're going into a bye week. You got a little time off here. You're doing things with Senator Hawley. How you feeling right now?
I'm feeling great. We're 5-0, and almost all of those games felt like playoff games. Arrowhead's been rocking for all the home games. We have another big game against the 49ers, but the NFL is so competitive now, and everyone wants to beat the Chiefs. We've got 2 Super Bowls recently, and obviously going for the 3-peat. But I think when you have Andy Reid at the head, and you have Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and some of our great leaders that are so consistent and just following the formula. That's our motto for this season, is following the formula. We know what the process is, and we just got to make sure we show up and we do it, and we attack every day to be the best we can.
So do you have any butterflies going into this, more than kicking a big field goal and AFC Championship game? Do you have any butterflies for this little political hit you're about to do here?
I can't say it's the same as a football game, but I'm excited to see all the supporters out here and be here today and enjoying the bye week by going to a political rally. So I'm excited for it.
You know, our listeners appreciate both you guys, so thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Pete.
Thank you.
All right, there you go. Josh Hawley and Harrison Butker. We got 5 minutes with them before they hit the stage yesterday in Parkville. And we got some pictures up on my social media, at Pete Mundo on Instagram and X. You can see them there. And, you think back to Harrison Butker's Benedictine speech. That I joked about it there, but in many ways was kind of a coming out party in the sense that he got worldwide attention for that, right? There's nothing to fear after something like that happens to you. And I mean that for the better. He's got a friend in Josh Hawley who's running for re-election in his state. It's a no-brainer in many respects, especially based on the core issues that he's got and that are traditional family values. Obviously a pro-life guy as well. And you know that Josh Hawley's in sync with you on that front. So the rest of this is easy. And then last night, we kind of warmed him up for Laura Ingraham last night, by the way. So they went to the other side of the state after being here in Parkville. And then they popped on Laura Ingram's show last night on Fox News. And Laura asked him and brought up the Benedictine speech and his follow-up and response and reaction to that. And I want to play that and then react to it here on KCMO.
Yeah, Harrison, so many people on TikTok, young women and college students, and these are friends of mine, people who work with me or have worked with me in the past. They were just recoiled from your comments because I think they took them the wrong way. To all those women out there watching tonight, maybe professionals, maybe some staying at home with their family, being a homemaker, what do you say to kind of still calm them down?
Well, I'm definitely saddened that they took it in a poor manner. I was talking to a specific crowd that I think was able to understand what I was trying to say. But I was trying to speak life for so many women that have dedicated their life to being the homemaker, being the one that raises the children. And it's a beautiful role, but it's not a role that should be diminished. I know maybe it's countercultural to speak those values, but I was able to see my wonderful mother sacrifice so much to be at the home as much as she could to raise me. I was able to experience my wife now that we have 3 children, being able to be present with the children, and I see that amazing bond that they have, and I go, wow, this is so important for our society, and there's nothing wrong, there's nothing shameful if you are a woman and you want to spend time with your family and raise your children. So it's not putting down anyone who maybe wants to go get a great education and have a career, but it's more talking about how beautiful it is for women to maybe just step aside and prioritize their family and spend time with their children and raise their family. And that's what I was just trying to speak love.
Now,
that was Harrison Butker on Laura Ingraham last night. And obviously he knows his own words and his own interpretation of his own words as well as anybody. He doesn't need me to add to it. But don't forget, we live in a culture and a society where people are looking for reasons to be offended and looking for reasons to be victimized. It is in vogue to call yourself a victim. It's what your politicians want you to define yourself as, because then they can take care of you. And there is some of this, I totally admit. It's way more prevalent on the left, but there's an element of it on the right. I admit there is. Claim you're a victim, and then the politicians are the ones that are going to take care of you. And that's what this speech turned into. People interpreted it how they wanted to interpret it because they wanted to view it as an attack on women when that's never what it ever was if you watched it. It was a 17-minute speech. I guarantee you most of the critics didn't even watch the whole thing. Harrison Butker effectively called out men as much as he did say, hey, being a mother is incredible. If this is the best path for you and your family, embrace it. It's a beautiful thing. It's something we should never take for granted, and also we should put on a pedestal. While 2 minutes later, if you actually watch the speech, saying to men, hey, it's time to man up. It's time to be a father. It's time to be the man of your house. And don't discount that either. And for him to rightfully bring up yesterday, hey, being a mother is a beautiful role. It is arguably the most important role. it is not one that should be diminished. And whether he's talking about his own mother, his own wife, the way they've dedicated their lives to that, and embracing that, and promoting that, and bragging about that. It's not anti-woman. And it was never intended to be. 913-408-7957 as we hit 8:45 on KCMO Talk Radio. Appreciate both of those guys giving us a few minutes yesterday in Parkville. And I'll tell you what, too. It's the first time I met Harrison. Obviously, I've known Josh for years. First time I've met Harrison. And what he said to me, he goes, hey, yeah, know the show. We got plenty of guys in the office that are listeners. I don't want to say which department they're in. I don't want to get anybody in trouble. But he's like, oh, yeah, they tell me when you're talking about us on the show and the whole thing. And I'm like, all right, that's cool. That's great. So knew the whole deal there, Mark.
I don't think they'd get in trouble. Their owner, I bet, might tune in every now and again when he's driving around.
Well, we do know that about ownership in this town. You're right. That is true, Mark. So that wouldn't shock me one bit. But I never like to assume. That's the beauty of radio. Like, we get ratings, and we know that when it comes to talk shows, we are tops here in Kansas City. We're very happy about that. We're grateful to you for that and the way we've turned this station and done so many great things with this show. And it's because of our listeners who have just spread the word over the last 6.5 years. But when you're doing the show, yes, you see numbers and you see listenerships, and that's great. But when you're just sitting here in the studio, it's always different because you feel like you're talking to yourself, maybe a caller, maybe John and Mark. But it's always funny to hear that, or interesting to hear that as well, when you're getting in the mix and talking to people and being at the event yesterday and seeing hundreds of listeners as well. And what was just an outstanding event they put on there in Parkville. Buy, sell, hold as we roll till 9 o'clock. John Holt is going to be here for our featured Friday segment from Fox 4. That's at 9 on KCMO.